Piece to be 6'5" and to be that fast and be able to play out wide and put him and squirrel wide on the field at the same time. I mean, that's going to present a lot of problems. And obviously, we know the quarterback can sling the ball a really, really long way. So I think that the potential there, the possibilities, the ceiling there is really, really intriguing. And it'll be about Thornton being able to reach him, and it'll be about see how much Squirrel White can get better in from his freshman to sophomore year as well, too.
Tayven Jackson entered the portal in the last hour. Ryan, I think all Tennessee folks figured he would at some point this year, but it wasn't going to be in early January. We thought he was a second transfer window guy where he goes through spring ball and sees like what it looks like if he gets, because it's an open competition is what Joey Halsey has said all the last month of like Joe Milton is not like penciled in as the starter week 1 next fall. I'm surprised he entered the portal now. Are you?
Well, I was surprised when I saw it, and I haven't done a ton of reading into it yet. But one thing I did see a tweet that said Purdue is a school that with a lot of connections to it early on. That's what the rumor mill is. And to me, in that type of case, Purdue's coming in and saying, "Hey, we think you have a great chance to be our starting quarterback." Then they want him to be there for spring, then yeah, I mean it's not shocking if someone presented that. I mean the amount of tampering that's going on in the transfer portal across the country right now is absolutely insane. So I'm with you. I didn't expect it. I thought he'd be a guy that would transfer at some point. I mean after spring would have made sense. I could have seen him going through fall camp too if he performed well in spring practice. But certainly it presents a really interesting situation for Tennessee to only have 2 scholarship quarterbacks right now, and man, it's not going to be an appealing spot for a transfer to come in, I don't think. So it'll certainly be really interesting.
Yeah, what do you put the odds of him getting out? What do you think are the odds of him getting out and sticking around for a little bit longer?
Jackson, is that who you're asking about?
Yeah. Why? Like, what are the odds that he hops out of the portal?
I would think pretty low, to be honest. Yeah. But who knows? Maybe Tennessee can convince him to stay. But again, they can call it an open competition all they want, but I think it's pretty clear to everybody. Joe Milton's your 6-year senior, who the team locker room really respects, has waited his turn. And Nico Yamaliov is a guy you're paying millions and millions of dollars to. I think he and his family are probably smart enough to read the tea leaves there.
A lot of pressure on Nico, though, right out of the gate, because if Tayven is for sure gone, like I don't know who's left in the portal. I mean, Spencer Sanders, I guess, is still floating out there, but they haven't. Tennessee has said to this point they were not, or I guess the expectation around Tennessee has been that they were not going to add anyone in the portal quarterback wise. I think that we should have. I guess the way of looking at that is like they were good if these 3 stayed. If they were on, like we're not adding anybody. If this is our quarterback room, like this is good. But if Tayven enters, I think they don't have a choice. I think they have to dip back into the portal, right? You cannot go into next year with, I mean, is Gaston Moore back? So you got Gaston, you got Nico, true freshman, and then you got shaky Joe Milton as a 6-year player who we all hope, and like you said, has a respect to the locker room that everyone's pulling for, is the guy. But like, I don't feel good if that's the quarterback room going into next year. I think you need another veteran.
I would agree with that overall, just purely from the depth standpoint, but I'm not sure who they're going to add that's going to make me say, oh, wow, I feel way better about the quarterback room now. I just don't see it being when we talked about it probably a month ago now, I don't see it being a very attractive spot for quarterbacks, and Tennessee's already invested a lot of NIL money on another quarterback on the roster. Anybody that's real good in the transfer portal from a quarterback standpoint, that's going to be an NIL venture. You're going to have, it might not be the most important thing, but you're going to have to get in there and be throwing around some money, in my opinion. So anybody that you do have, or Tennessee does add, it's going to be someone who, in my opinion, they're going to be able to get is coming in, wants to be the backup or the third string. And even I think the path to getting a kid that would be good enough to be the backup is pretty hard to see. So I do think it's important just to add another body from a depth standpoint. But whoever it is, I think it's going to be a drop-off from Tayven Jackson. I think you'd feel better about Tayven Jackson than anybody that they could add or anybody that they'll potentially add.
Well, yeah, and then you have like Ole Miss, who's just like a chaos school now. Like Mike Wright is now at Ole Miss. Spencer Sanders is the favorite to end up at Ole Miss, and they already have Jackson Dart. Like, what is that spring ball going to look like in Oxford? I don't know. I think you need three, and I mean, I'm looking around right now. Connor Bazelak, team number 3. Is he? Maybe Brendan Lewis seems like someone who Heupel in this group would like, where he's a 3-star who wouldn't come in with the expectation that he would star. You bring him in, the Colorado kid, like. I don't know, Chance Nolan, the Oregon State guy, where it's like there's no expectation that he would be the starter. Like, I don't know. There are some guys. None of them really pop, like a Spencer Sanders or somebody like that. And all the top names have obviously committed and enrolled, but I don't know. I think they're going to have to. I think they're going to have to. Maybe someone who has not entered the portal, but I mean, it closes on the 18th, so maybe them seeing that Tayven entered the portal today, an interesting name pops in, or they're, like you said, tampering is rampant in this sport, that because this is out, maybe we find someone who has not been in the portal is like, oh, that one of the 3 spots, like the sell for Tennessee that I would say, and like you said, they've obviously invested a lot of NIL in the quarterback room already. The sell is, look at what Hendon Hooker did. Like, he came in, was not expected to be the starter. It's kind of flipped from what Joe Milton is doing now, but there's no guarantees for this year. Like, there are probably some guarantees after this year with Nico and company, but like this year there is no guarantees. So if you're someone who wants to put up big numbers and play in an offense that's been in the top 10 in scoring in back-to-back seasons, I mean, that's a pretty enticing sell, because what we've seen in the NFL and these guys, like, I think Jalen Hyatt has 1 year of just proven production, and he's going to make a lot of money, and he has turned a lot of heads, and he's going to go maybe in the first round, worst case second round, but it was just 1 year. Like, if you put up a good 1 year of tape and you are able to enter the draft right after, that's all you need. Like, I think a lot of these kids think that they have to like play for years in front of scouts and stuff like that. It's like, you really just need 1 year in the right spot and to pop and be draft eligible, and you'll be all right. I don't know. My gut tells me that it's going to be a good sell, and I think someone who's not in the portal yet might pop their name in now.
Well, I mean, you mentioned it earlier with when we thought Tayvon might go in. I imagine you'll have a whole nother spring of guys after spring practice that are quarterbacks that are entering. So I could see them waiting until then to do something. But you're right. It does feel like at some point you're just going to have to add another body, because I mean, you're an injury away from being a disaster, basically, in the quarterback room, if you got to go months at a time with Gaston Moore as your backup.
For sure. What would you guess Josh Heupel's extension is going to look like?
Years to me is what I don't really know, would be the question mark. I'm thinking he's going to be making in the $9 million a year. That would be my guess from a salary standpoint.
Where would that put him in the SEC?
4th, right in that range. I think Jimbo would be higher than him, Kirby, Saban, and then I think he'd be in that next group of, I think it's